Our Big 5 week continues. We've already counted down the top individual performances of the season, top games of the season. Now, Sean's here to help us work our way through the top 5 moments of the Big Ten season. And there's a little bit of crossover because at number 5 on your list is a performance by a guy that also earned him a spot on the top individual performances of the year.
And at number 5, Denzel Valentine. His performance against Kansas in the United Center early in the season, one of his triple-doubles on the year. How about this line? 29, 12, 12 assists, 1 turnover. And this is from a guy, we talked about it at the top of the show, Rick. This was a guy who was coming off double hernia surgery in the offseason, had played a lot of basketball, had played over in Italy when the team went over there. And just this performance here, along with what he did out at the Wooden Classic out over the Thanksgiving holiday, if people weren't aware of the type of season that Denzel Valentine was going to have, this one certainly put him on the map, especially when you consider it was put up against what ended up being the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament.
Again, in case you're just joining us, told you at the top of the show, Denzel Valentine on Thursday named the Associated Press Player of the Year. Number 4 on your Big Ten top moments of the 2015-16 season. So much heartache over the last couple of years, so many tough losses for Pat Chambers and Penn State, but they picked up one against Iowa that kind of changed the arc of their season late in the year.
At number 4, they defeated the number 4 Iowa Hawkeyes in State College. This was when Iowa really had it going before they kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock toward the end of the season. And to your point, Rick, this was a team in Penn State that set a record 7 wins in the regular season under Coach Pat Chambers, the most they've ever accomplished under his leadership. And this was a game that went right down to the end. And to have a game like this, you have to have an unknown hero. In this case, it was Donovan Jack, a career-high 19 points, just phenomenal. Brandon Taylor, a guy that really continued to perform over the course of his career. Just a tremendous environment there in State College. And I remember talking to Donovan Jack after the game. I said, hey, remember it's a school night, you know, don't want to celebrate too much. You look me right in there and he goes, I only have 1 class tomorrow. That's what makes this so much fun. I mean, this is not a video game. These are real college guys playing it, and it was a great environment and a great opportunity for Penn State.
And the college guys from Bloomington ranked number 3 on your top moments of this past season because I don't think anybody believed that Indiana would have the firepower, the depth, and the defense to win the Big Ten title, especially after James Blackman went down with injury.
Rick, not just to win it, but to win it convincingly by 2 full games, and you do it on the road in Iowa City. And to your point, this was a team everyone knew that Indiana was going to score. They showed it last year, and they showed it early in the season. It was the defensive end of the floor. It's been well documented. They struggled in Maui. Duke really kind of took them to the woodshed. But this is a team that responded. And Yogi Ferrell led that response with his willingness to buy in on the defensive end, witnessed by the fact that he was a member of the all-defensive team. He brought his teammates along with him. But Coach Tom Crean and that staff, to keep them together, to get them to buy in, to overcome the adversity, to your point of losing their second leading scorer in James Blackman, a tremendous, tremendous season. They advanced to the Sweet 16 again. But to win this conference by 2 games outright when the expectation level wasn't necessarily there, a tremendous accomplishment.
At number 2, Bo Ryan's longtime number 2. There are so many questions when Greg Gard took over in the interim basis. Was he basically enduring a long-term job audition? I'm not sure that you could ace an interview any better than Greg Gard aced his.
And it didn't start off necessarily well. This was a team that was 1-4 in the conference after losing at Northwestern, and they turned it around. Their finish to the season, tremendous. He got them to buy in on the defensive end. He reincorporated the swing offense, which has kind of been missing with the level of NBA talent that had been on campus there for a number of years. And what it was is for people who have the opportunity to be around this game, be around this conference, and kind of follow guys. This is one of the really good guys, not just in college basketball, but just in general. And it kind of reinforced your willingness to believe that if you work hard, that if you keep your head where your job is and not worry about the job ahead of you potentially, that it will be rewarded. He got an opportunity. He made the most of it. And to see the team buy in and rally behind him and play accordingly was really, really fun.
I think also that sometimes Greg Gard, the basketball mind, the strategist, gets lost because everyone focuses on his personality. And it's true, the fact that he's even-keeled, that he's level-headed, kept this team where they needed to be when they were struggling. But you go back and look at some of his inbounds plays, the play he drew up for Bronson Koenig to knock down that three-pointer to beat Xavier in the second round. Greg Gard is not just a good guy who happens to be a well-tempered coach. He's a really good X's and O's basketball guy.
And he trusted himself in this regard as well, not just putting his stamp in terms of bringing the swing offense back, but guys played under Greg Gard that would not have played otherwise. guys like Khalil Iverson probably would not have seen nearly the amount of minutes that he did unless Coach Greg Gard took that position. Charlie Thomas and Jordan Hill, guys that as we move forward into next season with all that's returning and the experience that they have, Coach Greg Gard and the Wisconsin Badgers, someone to keep an eye on next year, not just in the conference play, but nationally as well.
So much fun covering them in St. Louis in those first 2 rounds. Heartbreak against Notre Dame, but lots to build on for Wisconsin, losing absolutely no one of consequence as that team returns everybody for 2016-17. And number 1, every year there are games and moments that you could never predict. A year ago, it was Wisconsin losing to Rutgers. This year, it was Maryland going to Minnesota, a completely hapless Minnesota team, basically playing with 4 or 5 scholarship players, and the Gophers found a way. And not just the way that they won, Sean, but their reaction is why I understand why you picked this as your top moment.
Yeah, the on-the-court stuff was certainly notable. When you're Maryland and you go into Minneapolis and you still have an outside chance to win the conference title, at least a share of it, this is a game that you need to win. Nothing really of consequence on the line for the Minnesota Golden Gophers other than pride, and they delivered in front of the home fans. And much like Coach Greg Gard, this game, it's about the people. And the post-game interview with Joey King and the genuine emotion, not the manufactured emotion, not the, hey, look at me, none of that, genuine emotion, and the fact that how much he cared about his team, his school, and his program is what will remain with me and why it's number 1 of my memorable moments this year.
It must be the magic of television, because we just happen to have that post-game interview, Joey King with John Crispin, queued up.
Joey, I can see the emotion in your face. We got people taking selfies behind you. The crowd loves it. They stuck with you guys. How important was closing out this win for you?
You know, there's not too many fans that would come out day in and day out for an 0-13 team. So just to have the kind of support we have here is just something really special. And I mean, we haven't had the best year, but we kept fighting, and we knew we'd show up one of these nights. And to have it against Maryland, one of the top teams in the country, you know, in front of our home crowd, it's something they deserve. They've stuck with us all year, and we just continued to fight every single night. And, you know, when you see all the freshmen and sophomores we have, just so proud of how, you know, they've overcame their youth and just continued to fight every single night. They haven't gotten down in practice. They've just kept fighting. And that, I know it's something that's going to show up next year in terms of our record, but, you know, just the intensity that we play with, the heart, is just something that we should be really proud of, you know, despite our record.
Joey, congratulations. Go enjoy this. This crowd's loving you right now.
To me, that moment becomes all the more special because it is not about Joey King at all. He talks about every single one of his teammates, the fans, next year, a team that he will have absolutely no part of. I mean, that is a moment that really shows what being a selfless college athlete is all about.
You hit it right on the head. When he's talking about our team next year, he's not going to be wearing that jersey, folks. He's going to be doing something else, whether it's playing basketball or advancing in his professional career otherwise. That stood out to me. And what also stood out to me, there's no amount of sabermetrics, there's no amount of statistical analysis, there's no amount of breaking it down. This is not a video game. It's played by three-dimensional human beings that have outside emotions and outside interest, and to see that all come to fruition was really something that was pretty powerful, as witnessed by what we saw there.
Yeah, I still had goosebumps listening to that interview. I've heard it about 16 times. Long live the King.